The idea here is that you get away from your house, your home, your work, all that kind of stuff. You take a weekend and you leave somewhere that you don't frequent all the time, somewhere where preferably you can get some quiet, like meditation and journaling, and just get off the grid for a bit. And that way you can get that deep focus and really look at your vision and all that kind of stuff. And once you do that, what you want to do is you want to spend one day focusing on reflecting on the last quarter or the last year. And it helps to kind of give you a little bit of context for what will happen the next day. And the next day is you want to visualize where you're going in the future. You visualize what the next quarter looks like, and you basically take your big long-term 3 to 5 year vision, what you want to achieve at that point, and then you narrow it down to really what do you want to achieve in the next quarter. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Flow Over Fear podcast, where it is our mission to help you to rise above fear and realize your ultimate potential in leadership and life. I'm your host, Adam Hill, and it is my goal to share with you the human side of high performance. My guests share their experience with fear, anxiety, struggle, challenge, and most importantly, despite all of it, how they rose above it to achieve incredible results. So, if you're ready to rise up, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Flow Over Fear. And as I'm recording this, we are closing out on 2023 and entering into 2024. And so I want to talk about goal setting, but I want to talk about it in a different way. Because you're going to hear a lot right now, especially as we think about New Year's resolutions and setting goals for the new year and all this kind of stuff. You're going to see a lot of goal setting workshops. You're going to see a lot of how to set goals, maybe listicles on how to make that goal stick and all this kind of stuff. But cutting through all of that noise, that's only a small part of the equation. The goal setting part is just a small part of the equation. But what I want to focus on is what makes those goals really stick, and how to build a life around continuous improvement and continuous goal fulfillment that make it so that you are accelerating the progress that you're making. You're accelerating mastery of not only different skills, but just lifestyle changes of transformation. And this is kind of one of the forms of accelerated transformational mastery that I focused on in my own life and building this kind of vision around it. So when I'm thinking of goals in particular, it's not just, setting a goal to be healthy or setting these kinds of goals. It's actually looking bigger at the vision that we have and then narrowing it down to what are the clear steps that we can take right now to bring us closer to that vision, because that's ultimately how we get there. It's not about just setting a static goal and making sure we stay with it. There's a reason why 92% of New Year's resolutions fail. And that reason is that we don't have an organized system around how we operate in those goals. The goal setting part of it, there's all sorts of strategies on how to set goals, and I'm sure that they clearly work, but again, it won't work unless there's an organized system around it. And so the problem is you set goals at the beginning of the year, but they often die around February or March, right? I mean, and this happens regardless of the time of year that you set them, but they often die within 3 months of when you set them. And what happens then is that you're going to go one more year without, achieving the goals or the things that fill you up, the things that you're driving toward. You have an incredible vision within you. If you're listening to this, you may have a vision to just be more than you are today, and that is a huge value to the world. Let's not neglect how much value you're bringing to the world with a vision that you have for the future that is better than what you are today. And the problem with really big visions is the fact that when we look at them from where we're at, we can't conceive of how we achieve them. We can't conceive of achieving our big dreams right now from where we're at because we've never been there. But here's the beautiful thing about that is when you have that feeling of self-doubt, of uncertainty, or you're overwhelmed by it, that's a signal to you that you're onto something, that dream, that goal is big enough. And oftentimes we fail at those goals. The real tragedy of it is that we fail at those because we feel like we're prisoners to that uncertainty, that overwhelm, or that self-doubt. We feel like we're prisoners to that, and the dream dies because something gets hard, or something gets in the way, or we get distracted, or that self-doubt just creeps in a little bit too far. And that's where my system, my vision reflection retreat idea comes into play. This is something that I want to share with you today. I want to share with you how to conduct a vision reflection retreat that will help you to keep your goals, to keep your vision organized, and to do it and to repeat this process on a quarterly basis to keep making continuous progress so that you can improve on it. This was a system that I really developed over the last couple of years, and I've implemented it in my own life over the last year, and I'll share a little bit about that. But first, I want to just more broadly state what this thing is, what this vision reflection retreat is. The idea here is that you get away from your house, your home, your work, all that kind of stuff. You take a weekend and you leave. You go somewhere new, somewhere that you don't frequent all the time, somewhere where preferably you can get some quiet, like meditation and journaling and just get off the grid for a bit. And that way you can get that deep focus and really look at, your vision and all that kind of stuff. So it could be going camping. It could be, going to a city you haven't been to before and sitting in a coffee shop for a number of hours. Whatever fills you up, whatever feels right for you in that case. That's the important thing. There's no standard environment for this, as long as it's out of your house, away from your work, away from your traditional environments. You want to get out of that stuff. And once you do that, what you want to do is you want to spend one day focusing on reflecting on the last quarter or the last year. You reflect on that last quarter, on what you've achieved, how far you've come, what were some of the big wins that you achieved, what were some of the big challenges. You reflect on that time, and you reflect on that last quarter, and it helps to kind of give you a little bit of context for what will happen the next day. And the next day is you want to visualize where you're going in the future. You visualize what the next quarter looks like, and you basically take your big long-term 3 to 5 year vision, what you want to achieve at that point, and then you narrow it down to really what do you want to achieve in the next quarter. Our goals are, and this is something that comes from Gino Wickman's work in Traction, where he talks about rocks. And rocks are essentially goals that you want to achieve in the next 90 days. 90 days is an important goal framework, because that is essentially as long as our human attention span lasts when we're thinking about goals. Any longer than that, we might just get bored with it, or we might just get jaded by it, and we just might give up. Or any shorter than that, and we tend to burn out. This is actually true from a physiological perspective too. From any level, we have to have something of a macro cycle where we build, we peak, and we taper, and then we drop off. That's also the spirit of flow. Flow is not a constant, as we've talked about before. It's kind of a sinusoidal kind of wave where you have to ride it as it goes. And so making these goals 90 days helps you to have this framework of attention span that keeps you achieving on a time frame that allows it to be fulfilling and satisfying. And that's why you want to kind of have these vision reflection retreats every 90 days or so. So yes, it's a 2-day event where you spend 1 day reflecting, 1 day visualizing, you put it together, you package it up, and then you create that system going forward on how you're going to achieve those goals and how you're going to measure them. And I want to talk about today how to structure your vision reflection retreat. And not only that, but I also want to offer a free guide for that. If you go to my website at adamcliffordhill.com, you'll find that I do have a link to download this free guide on how to conduct your own vision reflection retreat. It gives you some journal prompts. It gives you the instructions on how to go about this. And it's a fun time. I've actually implemented this in my own life over the last year. I started doing these vision reflection retreats last year. I went camping to start it out with, and I began looking at my long-term vision and reflecting on the previous quarters, and it's been life-changing. I've accelerated my own path to mastery on a lot of different things, and that's really the purpose of this, is to accelerate and amplify your skills development and your personal development. That's how we get this accelerated mastery. And one of my key principles is I like to continue focusing on this accelerated transformational mastery, where I can master multiple skills and build on those, so that I just stay fulfilled. I keep learning, I keep growing. That's one of the greatest blessings of life. And this this vision reflection retreat can be one of the most transformational things that you can experience in your life. Um, I've essentially compiled a lot of different ideas from people I've interviewed over the last year on Flow Over Fear, and different masterminds I've been in on how to set goals and how to really stick with them and systematize them. And that's where I got this. So there's a number of different resources I would suggest you look at before you engage in your own vision reflection retreat. I would suggest you look into these resources before you actually take your vision reflection retreat, because these will help give you some context into why we structure them this way. This is basically the system around the goals. And the first is I've I've created something of a framework around what I call the prioritization funnel and the reflection reservoir. It looks like an hourglass. If you imagine an hourglass, in the very top of that hourglass is what I call the vision section. And at the top of it, you have sand that's coming into this big old, funnel. And that is your vision. That's your long-term vision. And as the sand percolates down towards the bottleneck, right, where it goes into the reservoir, it starts to narrow down from that long-term vision into your yearly goals, into your quarterly goals, into your weekly to-dos, and ultimately, what are you going to accomplish today to do that? As it enters into the reservoir, it goes into the reflection reservoir, and you first can reflect on what you accomplished today. And then the next one is, what have you accomplished this week? And then it goes into, well, this year. That's where you reflect on the quarter and the previous year. And then and you're building these memories and you're building these experiences that all fill that reservoir that is the fulfillment of life. And that's essentially how we're structuring this vision reflection retreat. It's looking at both sides of the hourglass, making sure that we're filling up that reflection reservoir with memories and experiences that are filling us up, and that we're setting the vision and setting the goals that are driving us to future success. Think about your future self now. Like your future, think about the value that you are to your future self now. Your goal right now is to build a foundation for your future self. Look at what you want to be in the future, and reflect on what you would have had to achieve to get there. And that's where you're at now, is you're at that starting point. And so the way we structure this is, again, you want to do this every quarter or so. You could probably do it semi-annually, but I highly suggest you do this every quarter. And you start by really setting a place where you can go away from home. It doesn't have to be expensive, by the way. I mean, you could take a weekend, Saturday and Sunday, just go camping, camp out in the woods, somewhere where you can be, by yourself in the quiet, where you're able to write. It doesn't, you can be pretty flexible about where you're going. It just has to be somewhere that is meaningful to you. And then you want to bring plenty to write with. You want to bring your journals, whatever your favorite journal type is, and then also bring a series of, if you already have a set of a vision or goals or anything like that set up, business financials, an adventure list. We've talked about the adventure list. Bring everything related to lists or planning or goals that you have, bring them with you so that you can look at where you've come from on that. And that's important. And when you regarding what else you bring, you want to bring, just favorite energizing music, or, whatever fills you up from a music perspective, or personal development books, or podcasts, or anything like that. Um, it is pretty important, I think, to do this on your own, but that could be up for debate. I mean, I think that there's an argument to be made that if you want to bring somebody with you, then that by all means, do it together, or do this together. But if as long as it's somebody that you can trust, somebody that is inclined towards the same values and vision setting that you are, so that you can get the deep work done. This is not about necessarily about just having a weekend away. You're going to be doing deep work. And yes, you'll be going on adventures, but you'll also be doing some deep work. So it's important to prioritize that part of it. And the reason you want to do this is it's because it's more than about setting goals. Again, you don't just want to set goals. Well, that's important. You want to have a system around them to make sure that they stick, and you want to reflect on the goals that you've set in the previous quarter. And this is why the reflection piece is important, because it adds an added element of accountability to it. Imagine for a moment that you already have 90 days from now a retreat scheduled where you're going to reflect on the things that you achieved. And so with that in mind, you're going to have to set goals that you're going to achieve in those 90 days, and basically be by yourself, looking yourself in the eye, and saying that you've achieved them. And that's why it's important that if you say that you're going to meet this specific metric, your future self 90 days from now is holding you accountable to that. And there is some power in that. So when you decide to leave, when you bring that, you bring all of those things. And again, if you want clear detail, I have this all in a guide that you can download from my website for free. Just go to adamcliffordhill.com and download the free Vision Reflection Retreat guide, and you'll have this there. And trust me, it's a lot of fun. So you arrive on day one, you settle in, you check in, you maybe have a nice dinner or whatever, explore a little bit, as long as you can keep it safe and all of that. Get a good night's sleep that first night, because day two, you're going to start your day early. And for those that have already set up a vision and have a set of goals from the previous quarter, day two, the day that you wake up on that on really the first day of this retreat, that's the reflection day. This is the day where you're going to look back on your last quarter and the last year, on the things that you've achieved, and how far you've come. What are the wins? What are the challenges? And it's very important that you take this day, that you address this day without judgment, without shame, but with genuine curiosity of how you can improve. I mean, it's easy for us to feel a sense of feeling like we're judging ourselves because we just don't like the way we acted, or we don't like the fact that we didn't achieve a goal or whatever. But the goal here is improvement, not judgment, not critique. It is just that we look at it with genuine curiosity. If you don't have your vision set up, or you have never done that, this is the time to do that. Or then day two will be the day to do that. But you can actually start to look at the different, the different things that you've achieved in your life. You can start to ask questions like, what were the 3 top things that I achieved in my life that I never thought that I would achieve before? You start your day with, you wake up and you can do a nice 20-minute meditation, however that looks for you. It could be it could be a breathing exercise. It could be just a meditation, whatever works for you. And the important thing too is that you avoid social media and news. Those things can be incredible distractions. They can bring you down. They can put you in a place of anger. It's really important. I would suggest avoiding social media and the news the entire weekend. But understanding that if you have to go on to Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, just don't do it the first part of the day. Leave that time for you. Um, and you're going to get into a morning workout. You can do an easy exercise for 30 minutes to an hour, something like that. Then you start to journal. You brain dump for 30 minutes to an hour, just a stream of consciousness. It's important that you don't have an agenda to this journaling, and you let whatever comes into your brain flow onto the paper, as ridiculous as it sounds. You could be thinking of UFOs playing or aliens playing the cello on the planet Xenex. That's fine. Write about it. Just write about whatever is coming into your mind. That's the thing that's going to open up your mind and your heart to what comes next, which is reflecting on the previous year. And this is where if you're a first timer, again, you may not have a long-term vision. So as you think about your vision, so if you don't have a vision, this may be the time to read the book Vivid Vision by Cameron Herold and set that up for yourself. Set up your 3-year vision. Look at yourself 3 to 5 years from now, who you are, who you want to become, and write it down as if you're already there, because that's what you're going to reflect on there is, does this long-term vision and dream still excite you, and explore it? What specifically still excites you about it? What frustrates you about that vision? If you've already written out a vision of some kind like this, and I highly recommend the Cameron Herold Vivid Vision book to follow that. This is where you can you read over that, reflect on it, see what doesn't quite work for you, because a vision is not a static document. You may change it. You may want to revise it over time. So this is your chance to kind of look at, like, well, what frustrates me about this? What are the bottlenecks that are preventing me from getting there? And then you narrow it down closer. You look at the last 90 days. What were the goals that you had for the last quarter, and did you achieve them? And if you didn't, what didn't work? For the goals that you did achieve, did they really bring you closer to your long-term vision, or were you stonewalling? Were you setting goals that weren't aligned necessarily with your vision, with the result of just feeling good about accomplishing them, and not getting to that, and not getting closer to the goals? Those are the honest questions you have to ask, because again, fear gets in the way of us in our long-term vision. That self-doubt does. And it creeps in the most mysterious of ways. And that's why we have to close on that gap, because the goals that we set may even be preventing us from pursuing that. They may just be busy work that aren't bringing us closer to that, to what our vision is. So this is the time to ask yourself those questions. Did the goals that I achieved really bring me closer to my vision? Did they? I can, it's kind of like if you have a vision to be a speaker in life, right? Like you want to speak on stages, but the goals that you're setting are, well, I'm going to write the speech this quarter, and I'm going to polish the speech. I'm going to edit it. You might achieve those kinds of things, and you'll have a speech, but you don't have anywhere to give it. Why? Because you're afraid of doing the outreach. You're afraid of reaching out to people, of calling people and asking them if you could be on their stage or delivering the speech. What are those impediments that are preventing you from that? That's one of the things that you want to explore here, by looking at those goals from the previous quarter and reflecting on it. What helped you achieve those goals if you achieved them? Did anyone in particular support you in achieving those goals? And this may be the time to think about writing those folks a thank you note, or thanking them up via text, or some way of just acknowledging the people that have helped to lift you up, because we need others. And we also want to add value to them as we do that. The next thing you want to review is your bucket list, or your adventure list, as I like to call it. And this is, I've done a couple of episodes on this, so I don't want to rehash what the adventure list is. So go back and listen to my episode on creating an adventure list. It's essentially the people, the places, and the experiences you want to have in your life that really drive you forward. And so you can look at that list now, and ask yourself, did you achieve anything from that list in this previous quarter? And is there anything new that you want to add to your adventure list? Anything that comes to mind, you can start to journal about that and brain dump it. And then the rest of the time, during the morning is going to be spent doing some journal prompts. Again, not about shame. It's about identifying the issues and writing them down that serve as a foundation to form a solution to whatever it is that's standing in your way of this. So there's a series of journal prompts you can really ultimately write about. What are the big wins that you had in the previous quarter? What were the things that excited you? What were the happiest times you experienced? What were the worst times or the saddest times or the most challenging times? Again, not for shame, not to bring up those emotions necessarily, but to be objective and really look at what drives your happiness and drives your joy. That is ultimately the reflection day, the hard work part. The last part of that day is you're going to take an adventure. You could sign up for this beforehand, but if you're camping, maybe you're going to go for a hike. Maybe you're going to explore the city, or maybe whatever it is, you're just going to do something adventurous that you haven't done, something that gets you a little outside of your comfort zone and makes it exciting. So finish the day with an adventure. And again, get plenty of sleep for the next day, because the next day is the vision day. The vision day is all about looking forward. We reflected on the past. We set a foundation for where we've been. Now we want to think about where we're going. This is kind of the exciting day. So day 2, or the second day where we do our vision, is going to start very similar to day 1. You're going to wake up. You're going to do your meditation or your breathing exercise. You're going to do the same stream of consciousness brain dumping so that you can get the juices flowing. But you're going to do that for a shorter time. You're going to do some more intentional journaling at the beginning. What you would write in detail more about what you look like in the future. And having read your vivid vision or the day prior, looking at where you want to be, this should be similar to that, but you're rewriting it down because you're really imprinting it. So don't just write verbatim what you have on your vivid vision, but really let this come from your mind. Really visualize, who are you in the world when you become the person that you want to become? Who are you? What role do you have? What do you represent to your family, to your friends, to God? And what does fulfillment mean to you? How are you contributing in the world? And, then you can get into more of the adventure stuff. What are some of the things you want to experience, the people you want to meet, the places you want to go? And, what does your family look like? What does contribution look like? How are you contributing to the world on a broader level? How are you being charitable or adding value? And these kind of lubricate the gears, so to speak, on what comes next, which is from that brain dumping, you're going to have a series of keywords in there, and they're going to drive your how you revise your long-term vision. They're going to drive how you refine your adventure list. So the next step is to look at that adventure list, and from that journaling that you just did, are there any items there that now need to go onto that? Any experiences, places, or people that you want to meet? So you add that there, and then you want to review your long-term vision. If it's a vivid vision, if it's 3 to 5 years, you want to review that, what it looks like, and make sure that it aligns with what you just wrote. And if it doesn't, you need to ask yourself, well, am I just having a day today? Is there something up with me? Or is there something up with the vivid vision that just isn't aligned? You need to ask yourself why it's not aligned, and make sure that it is aligned. And make sure that long-term vision of who you want to represent still aligns with your passion and, more importantly, your calling, God's calling for you. And if not, if it doesn't, what do you need to change? And is there, and again, if you don't have that vivid vision ready, that longer term vision, this is the day to kind of write that out and really take that and make that vision of your life in the next 3 to 5 years. Again, the book is called Vivid Vision by Cameron Herold, and it's a great resource to get that done. Some of the topics to consider as you look at your long-term vision Are relationships? What are the relationships that you have? How does adventure play into your life, and what does that look like? How are you contributing to the world via, donations or helping people that need help? What does your income look like? And how does your health and fitness look like? Those are just some of the questions. And then comes the next part, which is you've got this vision in place. You've got this vision for who you want to become. You may even have yearly goals that you get from that. Like you can say, I want to achieve this in the next year. And on an annual basis, you want to set those yearly goals. But the very next step is to break it down even further. Down that hourglass, remember, is what do you want to achieve for the next quarter? This is the important part, because this is where the goals come in. And this is where goal setting in general kind of falls short of just setting a New Year's resolution. Is right now we have, based on all of this stuff that you've done over the last couple of days, you have a baseline, you have a foundation for where you want to go. And now the goals that you're going to set for your next 90 days are going to get you closer to it. That's exciting. You are setting goals that are going to get you closer to the future self that can look back on who you are now and say, thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this. And so when you take that into context, what are the achievable SMART goals that you can set to get you just that much closer to your long-term vision? Here's where it gets smart. We've all heard that the framework of SMART goals, right? You want them to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So when we're specific, what does exactly done look like for this goal? What are the specific, and for measurable, what is the specific number or metric that you're aiming for? What is there a number for it? Is there, that kind of comes with the idea of done when you have a specific, right? But what are the measurables and the metrics that you're going to use along the way? Like, is it this much improvement per week? Is it, this much at the end, or what does it look like? Is it attainable? Can you really achieve this in 90 days? If your goal is, if on your vivid vision is, I want to visit Mars one day. Well, in 3 years, I doubt that's going to happen personally, but, shoot for the moon, or Mars for that matter. But I don't think that if your goal is to go to Mars in the next 3 years, I don't think that going into orbit, unless you are already an astronaut, is something that is attainable in the next 90 days. So what is an attainable goal? And again, you want to make it worthwhile too. So there's a bit of an art to this, because you could always set a goal like, I'm going to in order to achieve my goal of competing in an Ironman triathlon, I am going to run 1 mile total in the next 90 days. Well, yeah, that's probably attainable for somebody who wants to achieve an Ironman in the next year, but might not be enough necessarily. So make sure that you find that balance of making sure that you can achieve this in the next 90 days, and making sure that it's big enough to keep you motivated and keep you going. Is it relevant? Will achieving this goal, and this is a big question, will achieving this goal truly get you closer to your vision? That kind of gets back to that point we just had about pursuing goals that might not necessarily get us closer, but just create busy work. So really, is it relevant? And then time bound. By when can you achieve this? Most often, it's going to be within 90 days. But it might be shorter. You might say that I want to achieve this level of improvement every week. So make sure that you're putting the time bound around that. And really, you should have no more than like 3 to 5 rocks, 3 to 5 goals around this. So as a reference, if you want to look up how to set those 90-day goals, read the book Traction by Gino Wickman. This is a great resource for how to set those goals. And it's worked well in my business, and it's worked well in my personal life to actually set those rocks in my life. And just an additional tip is that you want to pick goals that drive towards your personal, professional, and spiritual elements of your long-term vision. So if you have relationships that you want to build, try to balance it out a bit. Try to hit some of that every time so that you continue to grow personally, professionally, and from a spiritual perspective continuously, and you don't let any of those falter. And then the final piece that about with regard to the work on the vision day, who's going to help you get there? Like, who do you want to connect with? Are there any mastermind groups? Are there any coaches? Are there any friends? Are there any family? Are there people that you need to help you through this? And there's another important question here. Who will likely inhibit you that you want to be conscious of and perhaps set boundaries around? You need to know that kind of stuff, because it is true that you are that you become the product of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So make those people, be intentional about who you spend that time with. Find them. If they're coaches, if they're mentors, if they're in mastermind groups, join that. And then of course, just as you did in day 1, finish the day with an adventure. Celebrate the fact that you have your strategy for the next quarter. Set and go achieve and go take that adventure, enjoy it, and take your motivation with you when you head home. Commit to completing these goals for the next quarter. And as you head home, you may just want to find an accountability partner to work with and make sure that's part of it. That might be one of those who to help you get there. Um, so, and always remember that, our goals, like whether it be setting a yearly goal or quarterly goals like this, they're only as strong as the routines and the habits and behaviors that you put in place to help you get there. And so another resource that helps with the daily habits and the weekly habits that can drive you towards achieving those 90-day goals and ultimately your long-term vision is a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Many of you may have read that. It's a great way to imprint the habits of how to drive yourself forward. So and keeps you accountable to all that stuff. So making sure that you're making progress. So those are some of the resources that you want to put in. And also just don't forget to enjoy the journey. If you are truly passionate about achieving your long-term vision, you should be equally excited every quarter when you set these goals and that are going to get you closer there. And you should be enjoying that journey. And it's a question you should really look at when you're on that reflection day is, am I really still enjoying this? Is this a passion that I still want to pursue? And they're very introspective questions, but they're also very, they can guide us toward the right path forward for us. This has been, in terms of keeping my goals and habits organized towards the long-term vision, this has been the most powerful thing that I have done for myself. And the greatest gift that I've given to myself is to go on a quarterly retreat like this. And you may be thinking to yourself, yeah, but Adam, I can't afford that. I don't have time for that. I have this. We all have it. You have to prioritize it. You have to prioritize it for yourself. This is one of those areas you have to put yourself first in order to be better for everyone else that you are working for your family, for your friends, for your job, whatever it may be that you're saying you're too busy for. This is something you need to do to make sure that you're driving closer, and that you're being the best person you could possibly be for the folks that mean the world to you. You owe it not only to your future self, but you owe it to the world to see your vision through, because your vision has the ability to change the world. And if you take just 2 days every quarter to focus on that vision and reflect on your progress, I guarantee that it's going to change the trajectory and the speed at which you can achieve what you want. You'll achieve more quickly than you ever thought possible. And so if you want to pursue a vision reflection retreat, again, I am giving this framework away. Go to my website, adamcliffordhill.com, and download the vision reflection retreat and use it as a guide for your quarterly vision. And in the weeks that follow, I'll continue to post content and email things out that may help you to get there. So download that from my website. Enjoy your new year and enjoy the new you, which will come from the work that you do in this vision reflection retreat. Thank you so much for joining me today. We'll see you next time. Hey, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this episode. If you've been listening for a while, you know how important community and mentorship is to living a life of abundance above your fears. If you want to connect with me, hear about new offerings, episodes, and strategies to live with conviction, courage, and clarity, then sign up for my newsletter now. It's a way to stay connected to me outside of social media and bring a little empowerment to your inbox, and maybe a few dad jokes here and there. Sign up now at adamcliffordhill.com. Now back to the show. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Flow Over Fear podcast. If you'd like to learn more about getting into flow and learn the foundations of flow, I have a free video series on my website at www.adamcliffordhill.com called The Foundations of Flow. Feel free to go there and download it and start your journey to rising above fear and achieving greater flow in your life. And if you like this episode, and I'm guessing you did if you stuck around for this long, then please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, and you will receive notifications when I have new interviews, new recaps, and new trainings that pop up on YouTube. Thanks again for joining us.